To the channel, Have Roots Will Travel. My name is Lisa Elphin-Stoltari, and I'm a genealogist and a passionate traveler. Over the last several years, I've been focusing my attention on a series called Les Filles du Roi. Earlier this past year, I began a series called Les Filles à Marier, the marriageable girls. They were truly an inspiration to me, and I decided I wanted to explore them along with Les Filles du Roi. Now, there are over 260 of them. Over the past year, I have focused my attention on about 50 of them. I think we're on episode 50 today, actually. So before we begin, let me show you ways you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know. Subscribe, like, and notify. You'll see those three little buttons there. And the next couple ways are ways you can help the channel grow. Coffee, Patreon, and also on my Have Roots Will Travel website, we have a PayPal button as well. All the ways that you can contribute, $1 to however much you would like to contribute. Thank you to all of you who have contributed thus far. It truly helps. Your support and your encouragement are what mean the most to me. Thank you so much. Let's get started, shall we? Now, les filles mariées, the marriageable girls, are a group of ladies who came before les filles du roi, the king's daughters, who arrived in 1663. That is why you see the date, 1634 to 1662. After that, we are dealing with les filles du roi. Now, les filles mariées, completely different. It was not a program, actually. It was just ladies who would come across. They were helping to populate New France. Certainly the churches and different officials were definitely interested in having these ladies come and marry the gentlemen that were in New France at the time in order to found a colony. So these women came with no gifts at the end, because those of you who follow Les Filles du Roi know that they were given a certain amount of money and had gifts bestowed upon them for their decision. Les filles mariées were essentially women who signed the board and signed a contract, if you will, to marry a gentleman. They didn't have to marry a gentleman specifically. They could have their choice, but they would come across and they would have to be of marriageable age. The book Les Filles Mariées by Peter J. Gagne lists in great detail what each of these ladies had to. They had to be between a certain age. They had to have, obviously a good character, all of that in order to come. But these were brave, brave women. They came before anyone. And if you look at 1634, that date is very, very important in Quebec history, because that is the date that Trois-Rivières, for example, was founded. So there was really nothing there at the time. The French had just gotten the New France back from England, who had taken it in 1629. So it was the very, very beginning. So let's have a look at one of these extraordinary, brave women who, in my mind, is a founding grandmother of Quebec. And I always say les filles du roi are the founding mothers, but these filles mariées, founding grandmothers, truly, truly brave women. So today's Filles mariées is episode 50, Claire Francoise Pare, dite de Pare. This comes to us from a viewer. I do not have her in my file, so it was a pleasure to get to know Claire Francoise. I also want to point out that, remember, we're looking at dite de Paris, also known as of Paris. De means of, and Paris. So it's highly likely that she's from Paris. Let's have a look. Sure enough, she is from Paris, from the Church of Saint Eustache. It is found in the first arrondissement of Paris. Remember that Paris is laid out in circles, if you will. Arrondissement, that's what that means. And she is in the actual center of Paris. The present building that we find ourselves with, this church, was built between 1532 and 1632. She was born in 1645, meaning that she would have been baptized in this exact church. Just to let you know how large it is, the 2019 Easter Mass at Notre Dame was relocated to Saint Eustache after the Notre Dame fire that year. The first arrondissement of Paris is one of the most central arrondissement of the historic heart of Paris. It includes, in particular, one of the oldest districts of the city, the district of Les Halles, which dates from the very beginning of the Middle Ages. So you can't get more Parisian than this, is what we're trying to say. So this is Very, very important that you understand that this is a lady from Paris. Her parents, by the way, were Francois Pare and Marie Fortier. So let's have a look at her journey. So Claire Francoise comes to New France in 1661 after losing both of her parents. So she's an orphan and she decides she wants to go to New France, or someone helps her make that decision. But she comes in search of a new life. The groom that she selected and who selected her, his name was Jacques Baudon de Lagrange. He was born in 1635 in the city of Fontenay-le-Comte in France. His parents were Julien Baudon and Marie Jolie. And Fontenay-le-Comte is found in the Pays de la Loire region, which was the ancient province of Poitou. And the département that he is part of, Vendée. Remember that we have regions in France, that's that first map, and then inside that particular region is the département, departments, or you want to call them counties, but the Vendée is where he is from. This area dates back to the Gauls, and during its history was captured and recaptured by the French and English alike. The picture of this castle tells the story of this amazing area. It is called the Château de la Terre Neuve, which means Castle of the New Land, and dates to the late 15th century, and it is open to the public. The Church of Notre Dame of Fontenay-le-Comte dates from the 13th century, but was completely rebuilt in the 15th. We have no indication of when Jacques would have come across, but we do know that he is noted, as according to Peter J. Gagne in the book Les Filles Mariées, that he was in Quebec City as of 1661, October, to be precise. By December 27th, they are married. Claire Francoise and Jacques were married at Beauport on December 27th, 1661. So pretty fast and furious. Where did they settle? So they would settle, as so many had before, on the Ile d'Orléans, which is located about 3 miles from Quebec City. And this island is probably the epicenter of Quebec and of the ancestry that you are looking for. I doubt that you will find many people that don't have at least one, if not many, ancestors who were at Ile d'Orléans at some point. The island was known at different parts as Grande Île, Sainte-Marie, Saint-Laurent, and it finally was awarded the title of Ile d'Orléans in honor of the Duke of Orléans, who was the son of King Francis I. The island is made up of 6 different towns or parishes, if you will. We start on the left side. You say Sainte-Pétronille, Saint-Pierre. Saint-Famille was the very, very first one founded. Saint-François, Saint-Jean, and Saint-Laurent. It's very important that you know which church or parish your particular family is from, because that will lead you into the research area. Now we have a look at the 1666 census and the 1667. So we look at Jacques Bourdon, who was 28 years old, and then his wife was 21. We have Jacques, who is their son, who's 3 years. And then we have Pierre, who's 15 months. And they actually have a domestique engagé, which means a person hired, Antoine Bayon. The next year, for some reason, Jacques ages by 4 years. Claire Francoise only ages by 1. We have Jacques, Marianne, and Abraham, 7 months. So Pierre is not there anymore, but Jacques is still there. They've gotten a new daughter, and Abraham, who's 7 months old, and 3 beasts, which means 3 cattle. They would go on to have 4 children. Jacques would marry Jeanne Cadou, but did not have any children. Marianne would marry Léger Baron and have 3 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Abraham would pass away at the age of 12, and André would pass away before the 1681 census. Tragedy would happen between 1668 and 1670. Jacques would pass away at the extraordinarily young age of between 33 and 35 years of age, probably on the island of Orleans. We do not have that burial record. Leaving Claire Francoise with her children Let's see what kind of path she carves for herself. Between the time of her first husband's death and her eventual remarriage, she would have 4 children naturally, which means out of wedlock. Let's have a look at those children. The first was a son named Antoine, whose father was Jacques Genet de Labarre, who was a soldier with the Gagne region, who would go on to marry fille du roi Catherine de Ribault, who we have not yet profiled. Geneviève's father was Thomas Gasse, the future husband of Geneviève Sureau, who was the daughter of a fille du roi Francoise Brunet, who we did profile in episode 164. Anne would go on to marry Pierre Charlin and have 6 children, one of whom would leave descendants. And Marie, her last natural child, was born and died in infancy. In 1679, she had met her future husband, but was brought up against charges that said she lived a scandalous life and was not allowed to partake of the marriage vows. She would plead her case and would ultimately prove victorious, so that the courts decided that she was allowed to remarry. I've also included the links to the actual archives of this information, so you can click on the link and read for yourself. Fascinating. The second husband she selected, his name was Jacques Bluteau, and he was born in 1642 in Le Guy de Vellure in France. His parents were Clément Bluteau and Anne Bouquet, and he was born in the Pays de la Loire region, as you can see on the left hand of your screen. Toward the middle, we see the département, Vendée. So in the actual point, her second husband came from exactly the same spot as her first. Now, this particular place is a very small commune, truly a commune. Remember, commune means township or village. 527 people live there now. Le Guy de Vellure is, just to translate, it means a place where a river or other body of water is shallow enough to be crossed by wading. And I show you a picture of the church that exists now, but it was burned down in 1568 during the religious confrontations, and it was then renovated, obviously. But it does date from that 16th century period. And this is an aerial shot on the right screen, the right part of your screen, an aerial shot of this little tiny village. It's so charming. And that is where Jacques, would come from. Now, Jacques had been in New France since at least 1665. He's actually listed in the 1666 census as a worker, sort of a, non-contracted laborer. And he did actually have a marriage contract with Catherine Lenny, who it was annulled in 1671. So he would go on to kind of wait his turn, if you will. And they were married on the 30th of November, 1679, and in the little church at Ile d'Orléans. Would go on to have 5 children together. Their firstborn, Jean, would not marry and did not have any descendants that we know of. Louis would marry Geneviève Charlin and have 5 children, 4 of whom made it to adulthood. And then he married Elisabeth Herbourg and had 5 children, 3 of whom made it to adulthood. Jacques would die in infancy. Etienne would marry Madeleine Dubois and have 9 children, 6 of whom made it to adulthood. And we have Jacques, the final child, who died in infancy. In the 1681 census, they're fairly newly married. They have Jacques, listed here, Claire. We have Jeanne, leur fille, but this, I'm pretty sure, means Jean, leur fils. They did not have a daughter named Jeanne. They have 1 gun, and we have 3 bêtes à cornes, 3 goats, and 10 arpents valaires, about 8 acres of land that they own at Ile d'Orléans. Jacques would pass away at age 57 at the Hôtel Dieu at Quebec City. He and Claire had been married 20 years. Now notice that on the death record it says 60. According to my calculations, it's 57. Claire Francoise would live another 21 years, dying at a remarkable remarkable age of 75. She would leave 69 descendants as of 1729. Remarkable lady. Learn more about Jacques Pluto in the book Our French-Canadian Ancestors, which is volume 18, and you can access it through the Facebook group or possibly find this edition at your local library. Definitely something to check into, and of course it will talk about Claire Francoise. As always, my favorite resources, I talk about them all the time. One of the keys that I do in my research is Généalogie du Québec et d'Amérique française, which goes by the web address of nosorigines.com. Please check it out. I've got them all listed in the notes, so please have a look at them. I also want to put a shout out to Maple Stars and Stripes, my very favorite genealogical podcast. Love what Sandra Goodwin has done and is doing and all that good stuff. So let's have a look as well at the French-Canadian genealogist, who is a remarkable website, which is a remarkable website, and they are doing some remarkable work there as well. Please have a look at all of these websites. They will definitely help you in your research. What can I say about episode number 50? Love Claire Francoise. I can really see her strength and her independence, and she wasn't going to take no for an answer, and obviously was probably very attractive, and certainly a woman who lived by her own rules and her own dictates, and was able to not only form 2 marriages, but have 13 children by various husbands and men. So I think that she was a woman ahead of her time, and I salute her courage, her bravery, her independent streak, and I suspect the descendants that are part of her tribe have that same streak of go for it that I think she had as well. So thank you, Claire Francoise. You came to us from Paris and you settled in New France. We are so blessed that you came, and we are honored by your contribution. Thank you so much. And I also want to say thank you to my patrons and supporters. The list keeps growing. I really appreciate all of your efforts and all the support I get from not only patrons, but also my supporters and my subscribers. All of you go into making this website and this YouTube channel the success that it is becoming. So thank you so very much. And until I see you on episode 51, I'll say au revoir.